This is kind of like a library of different things. This was kind of like a sampler for a screen that I made last year. It was based on like a ikebana basketry. Then you would have like a, I don't know, like a found ornament that I think is interesting in terms of, I don't know, because it's strange. And this was used for the Turner Prize, but also a show I had in New York as well. And then, yeah, as I was saying, I made a suit for Studio Voltaire that was based on this. We used this as the fabric to design the bricks from. What else do we have? It's like this, guys. And I like a lot. And I think I like it because it says he's happy all the time. And I'm like, great, you know where you're up to. I love to work with fabrics. I think also because they don't take up that much space. Oops. Old butterflies. John Travolta's face. I have this kind of collection of pumpkins in different forms. This was the first one. This was the very first pumpkin that I got, and I got it from the flea market. But there's something inside, which is like a constant mystery to me, but I don't want to destroy the object. I have books from when I was a kid. Whoops. I kind of love categorizing stuff, even if the category is kind of strange. Monstrous stones. Fig chicken wing. But I think having the shelves is really important for me because it is like it's not really storage, it's like an archive. I find the notion of the idea of saying I'm making a piece of work quite strange, because I always think that I'm just more spending time with ideas and people and spaces. I'm waiting for it to kind of make sense for me, and how I represent that sensation of understanding, I think, is through something we would most commonly call an artwork. Recently I've been thinking about like the first memory that I had. Mine is not an image, actually. Mine was a sensation, and I just really remember the sensation of kind of rubbing this like kind of soap dish on a carpet and feeling the friction between two different surfaces, and that being very strong. And then I remembered another one of being sanding. There was something in the playgroup, and sanding this thing and being so satisfied with how smooth the wood became. And I think I've always been really interested in the tactility of objects. I'm forever kind of like feeling my way around. And I think that helps how I see, because I think when I look at things, I can translate the sensation of feeling into the visual. As for kind of thinking about why I became an artist, I think it was a mode of escape for me. You know, like I grew up in a space where there was opportunity to do things, but I think I was always quite ambitious. I think I'm always still, whether that's for no good reason or not, I always think that anything is possible. You know, I don't see why, when I put my mind to it, usually I can find my way about how to get there. And so I kind of also feel a responsibility for my ideas. Yeah, I think I couldn't bear, I tried to do lots of different jobs. I tried to work in film, I tried to work in advertising, I tried to work in an office, and none of those, I couldn't really be myself, actually. I couldn't bring all of the self that I felt I could be into those spaces. I think I had parents who had quite like practical jobs, and they were like, don't do that, you know, do something else. I think my parents were not interested in culture in that way. It wasn't part of their kind of autobiographical stories. And I think I also was looking for a space which was really mine too, so it meant that I couldn't follow in their paths. I wanted to, it just didn't even occur to me, you know, I was just very driven to do it. I think when I first started making, I trained in painting, so I was looking at images And of course, images are made from paint, so you have an idea that you're looking at something which is not real. You're looking at the rendering of a fruit, a portrait, through pigment and oil. I wasn't really interested in painting, but I think I love the idea of the magic of image making. And as I began my kind of study into making things in 3D, like assemblages, I would take objects from all over the place, and I was always really fascinated by how they felt in the hands, how they looked for their material qualities. And that continued for quite a long time. And then as invitations to work with institutions came, I realized that institutions are materials happening at a bigger scale. You know, the Tate Modern is a material as an idea because it's a museum, and that's an idea as a material that exists in the world. But also it's just made from stone, and stones are made from mountains. And so why stress ourselves with thinking there's something more than just as direct as the land that's around us. You know, like I think I really like the idea of working in collage, the idea of putting one or two or three things together. And for that, I have to be very sensitive to how those things behave. So I might be looking at the color of a flower next to the material of a shirt, next to the body of a performer. And to make good decisions, I have to think about how they all behave in every realm, kind of historically, practically, technologically as well. So all of those things, kind of the easiest way for me to make sense of them is through their material qualities. I always make work in response to an invitation. Even if that invitation is just a conversation that I might have, or I don't know, like a film that I've seen. Somehow everything I make is in response. And so I feel like hopefully what I'm doing is in dialogue with culture. As to whether I feel it makes an impact or not, I don't know. I think time will tell. I still feel often like that kind of teenage girl kind of thrashing ideas out. Like I don't make a piece of work necessarily maybe it speaks in a devotional way to someone, you know, like I feel like a piece of my work could be as much in dialogue with, I don't know, like an Egyptian bas relief as much as it might be with, I don't know, I'm going to say like a Billie Eilish song or something. Like I'm just kind of absorbing all of it and going back, and maybe there's an openness which exists in my practice that means sometimes those kind of fantasy conversations in my head become reality, which is also then another kind of layer of things being complicated when that manifests as a real person speaking back to you. I think in working with wax, I really love that it's accessible. You know, like it's something which I can do in the studio. It's something I can, might be master is not the right word, but it supports me wanting to work with it. It's not like a piece of wood where I would then need lots of tools. All I really need is a bit of fire and some time, and then I can make something. I believe in ease and like paths of least resistance, and somehow wax as a material behaves like that as well. I love that it also has a memory. Like I might want to make something and then it's going to kind of want to go back to its kind of previous form too. So I'm kind of working with how it wants to be worked with. I keep a lot of things in the studio and they almost become like a material library. And I'd say that could also be understood as like like an art historical library as well. And sometimes I definitely had a period of just like finding a lot of stuff on the street and kind of dragging it back to the studio with me. I don't do that so much anymore, but I can see things in there which I've done. it may be a bit like, you know, like a magpie, like I'm always looking everywhere. Like it's not, I think my eye's always on for certain things. So that's why it can be like a picture from the internet. It can be stuff from my own practice that I'm reusing. Like this is the tiles from the garden outside. And I kind of use it like a, what would you say? Like it was successful in the garden. So then I'm seeing like what it does to these things, like if you put them together, is it like a good match or it's I don't know, it's a concluded story. I don't know. But then I have this like really, things which are really horrible if they were where they're meant to be. You know, it's meant to be like a garden ornament. And I think in a garden it would be horrible, but I find in here it's like, I find it very beautiful, and it's more beautiful than all the things that I'm doing. So it's like I have to like try and live up to this object, this mass-produced, clumsy thing. So also understanding if there's like an object which I might have in the studio, which seemed quite, I don't know, decorative to me at the time, whether it's like, I don't know, like a packet of noodles or like a trinket. There's also an idea of, I don't know, the speed of making, or the kind of the long chains of how things are. Like if you think about like the noodle, how it's made and it comes from like maybe a specific region of Asia, but then it's made from, I don't know, you can make it from wheat, you can make it from potato, you can make it from roots, but still it exists in that format, but then it goes to Europe and it becomes pasta, it becomes like another thing. So you have these kind of, for me that's kind of amazing that there can be something which is just meant to be kind of taken and consumed, but when you look at it in its form, it's kind of offering up all of the kind of complexities of human life over the past kind of like 200, 500 millennia over there. So I'm kind of, I don't know, kind of blown away when you look at these things in there. And then they also in their packaging, which is again like another whole set of codes and readings in there. When there's like a new thing in the studio, and then something that I'm interested in, I think I instantly kind of question myself why it is that I'm drawn to it. Maybe I'm becoming more of a cynical viewer as I kind of go through time. And so I would kind of hope to meet like so if there was, for instance, a stone, then I would go to try and meet like a geologist and get them to tell me all about it, to kind of give me a reality check on what it is that I'm finding so seductive about that object. And usually there's kind of a really straightforward answer. It's like, yes, this was like 2 billion years old and it's oxidization of a river. And it's like, okay, that's why it's stripy. There's these kind of matter-of-fact answers. Yeah, and this is from the mountains in Scotland. And I met with a geologist and he was saying it's like, what did he call it? The young roots of a mountain, which I thought was like a very romantic way of seeing, I don't know, what that is. It's kind of like the beginning of a mountain rather than a full mountain. And I think then what I'm doing in the studio isn't necessarily a search for that kind of fact-based truth, but it gives me a tool for understanding how subjective history making is. Like how much is omitted, how much is held, what is kind of prioritized, what becomes dominant in culture, what gets hidden within culture. And this is very much from a Western point of view, like, grew up in the UK, so it's very much based on understanding how the UK has framed itself as well. And then I can go back to that object that I fell in love with somehow, and it helps me understand it deeper. That it's not just decorative. And I think the reason why I seek to be like an artist is because I think it's about storytelling, whatever kind of mode of storytelling that is. And I think research is a type of storytelling, but it allows me to think about it in a non-linear way. And I don't expect people to always understand what I'm doing. I kind of just present it there, and you can take it as I first took it, as like something beautiful, or you can bring your set of knowledge to it, or if not, then maybe when you read all the other things around it, you might be interested to come away with some of the kind of, I don't know, layers of thinking that have gone into something. Quite often I will go back to certain books which are on the shelf. So all of these are kind of like the key books from the library. So we have like my kind of favourite, which is like Gaetano Pesce. So yeah, I think I always loved this as wax also, but like an armchair with a face. He also did this, which is this kind of piece that I did. I remade this life size. Well, not life size, like 8 meters high or something. I think when I first started, and I've been kind of working as an artist for over 20 years, the questions were quite binary. It's like, can I make this thing stand up? Yes or no. Or, you know, but now the questions, I don't know, they're endless now, you know, because then you realize that there's a whole network of things. And so it becomes really, I don't know, meta in a way. It becomes really vast because you realize the process of even asking a question means that everything, how can you say? Sometimes people may ascribe like a certain meaning to what my work is about. And before I would have felt the sureness to say, no, if this piece of work is definitely not about that, you have it wrong. Whereas now I understand that by the nature of something being asked, there's a truth to that. Whether I agree with it or not, there does exist like a breadth of opinions about everything, and I have to be able to work with those, again, as materials to be able to make work, which makes making work harder and harder each day because you have to kind of address many more things each time. But that's where maybe I kind of offer myself as a processor in that way. Like I'm kind of not looking for answers. I think I'm looking for satisfaction, but that doesn't necessarily equate to answers in the same way. Like I think I really like this fabric. This is like a found thing. This is like a belt from, it's like an obi belt for a kimono. So I really love that, and it kind of ties to that other, I'm kind of interested in fake natural things, but I think I also love the back. That so much happened on the back, and it's just kind of as, I don't know, stimulating to me. It's on the front, but then you get like moments of coherence there, but then it kind of just all disappears into something else. But yeah, but then it just looks like it's kind of normalized on the front or rationalized. I think certain things are quite clear when you're a younger artist to have as milestones, or kind of like markers that you want to reach. And I'm sure it happens in every field. It's like when you actually reach that marker, you realize what it actually means. That it's not the thing that it was. What it kind of probably meant was you were working in such a way for a certain amount of time, and there's always other dialogues around you, and you realize that you're kind of part of wider dialogues. And I think it's like understanding that as you carry on and move on, that it's about being able to bear the complexity of all the different aspects of a practice that kind of lay ahead of you. I think, I think something like being nominated for an art prize, it doesn't mean you're not a good artist, but it also means that it's a challenge to see if you can deal with all the other stuff that may come with that. They're just kind of everything's a challenge in a way, and I think I like that. I like the idea of, whereas before maybe I was interested in, I don't know, making something happen in the studio. Now it's like, can I get an institution to make this happen for me? Like, can I, and what does that mean? So I think it's always about kind of, I don't know, I remember having this dream when I was younger about like the art world being like a computer game, and you just go up a level, but it just, there's more and more baddies at every level, and you kind of like seeing if you can get through. Like, can you get to the castle? Can you get there? It's like, what is that space anyway? Like, it's just the same people that you're in a party with from before. But yeah, it's kind of also, it just gets more complicated.